I had my suit on, tie straight, cologne subtle, shoes polished to a shine. I was locking the front door, just about to start the car and head out to my sister's wedding, the day she'd been planning for over a year. But then my phone buzzed in my pocket. One message. No name, no number, just a burner line. Don't go to your sister's wedding. Check your wife's dance studio. That was it. No context, no sender, just that eerie sentence. And for some reason, it felt like a slap across the face. I stood there frozen on the driveway, key in hand, staring at the screen like it was a bomb. Because deep down, some part of me already knew, this wasn't a prank. It wasn't a mistake. I opened that message, and my whole world started to crack. Let me rewind for a second, give you the pieces before they all shattered. My name is Nate Holloway. I'm 35, self-employed, quiet by nature. I run a small but successful tech consultancy that keeps me comfortably middle class. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't make a lot of noise, but I'm always watching. I notice things, patterns, glitches in routines, flaws in systems, and I'd started to notice the same kind of flaws in my marriage. My wife, Camilla, is a professional dancer turned studio owner. She's magnetic, ambitious, always the center of attention. People orbit around her. When we met, I was drawn to that energy like everyone else. She made life feel like a stage, like everything was brighter just because she was in it. We've been married 6 years. No kids yet, but we'd been trying, or so she said. She was busy, of course, always at rehearsals, late-night workshops, private lessons. I understood. I respected her hustle. But lately, something felt off. She'd started locking her phone, changing her schedule without telling me. Her laughter sounded rehearsed, her touch more distant. I chalked it up to stress. Running a business is hard, right? Until I got that message, and I followed it. And what I found in that dance studio. Well, let's just say I'll never unsee it. But before we go there, before the full fallout, the fire, the revenge, I need to tell you how we got here. Because betrayal that deep doesn't come out of nowhere. It builds, quietly, until it explodes. Camilla's dance studio was only 15 minutes away, tucked between a vegan cafe and a boutique flower shop. Normally, I'd have texted her before dropping by, but this time, I didn't. I drove in silence. No music, no calls, just that message burning in my pocket and a sick twist in my gut. It was a Saturday morning. The kind of day she usually reserved for private clients. She'd told me she'd be at the studio from 9 to noon. It was 10:03 when I pulled into the alley behind the building and parked in the rear lot. She always told me to use the front entrance, but I didn't want her to see me coming. There was a small back door, locked, usually, but today, it clicked open with the press of my thumb. Inside, the hallway was dim. The scent of lavender and floor polish hung in the air. Her signature. I moved slowly, past the framed photos of past students and recital posters. Every step echoed a little too loudly in my ears. Then I heard it. Not music. Not a dance lesson. Voices. Low, close, intimate. And then, laughter. A man's laugh. I froze just outside the main studio door, my pulse hammering. Camilla's voice followed. Airy and flirty, the voice she used when she wanted something. I should have turned around right there, should have left and spared myself the sight, but I didn't. I opened the door a sliver, and I saw them. She was on the floor, tangled with a man I didn't recognize, shirtless, laughing, hands all over her. She was in one of her fitted black leotards, the ones she never wore around me anymore. They didn't notice the door, didn't hear me. They were too wrapped up in each other, and in that moment, I didn't feel rage. I felt clarity. Everything made sense. The coldness, the distance, the locked phone, the late nights, the fake smiles. She wasn't stressed. She was cheating. I closed the door silently, stepped back into the hallway, and walked out the same way I came in. I didn't confront her. Not then. Because this wasn't the moment for rage. This was the moment I started planning. I didn't go home. I didn't call her. I just drove. I needed to think, to process. to build the fire without letting it burn me up. By the time I pulled into a quiet parking lot near the lake, I had a plan forming. I sat there, staring out at the water, until the sun was high in the sky, and then I called someone I hadn't spoken to in months. My sister, Nora. She picked up on the third ring. "Jason?" Wow, what a surprise. We hadn't been close lately, not since Camilla came into my life. Nora had always been skeptical of her, and I, like an idiot, had distanced myself to avoid the tension. "Hey," I said, "got a minute?" "Always." I told her everything, from the strange message to what I saw at the studio. When I finished, there was a long silence on the other end. Then she said, "She's playing you, Jay. And she's been playing you for a while." "I know," I replied. "That's why I need your help." She didn't even hesitate. "Tell me what to do." So I told her. I didn't want to confront Camilla, not yet. I wanted answers, names, dates, a full picture of how long this had been going on and who the guy was. And Nora? Well, she was a journalist, a damn good one. Over the next week, we worked together in secret. Nora reached out to some of her old contacts, tech guys, private investigators, even a woman who used to be in Camilla's old dance troupe. We gathered intel. We traced phone records, pulled social media data, found hotel bookings under fake names, surveillance footage, photos, and then came the bombshell. The man in the studio? His name was Reed Baxter, a fellow instructor, newly hired, married, 2 kids, and, most importantly, one of the groomsmen in my sister's upcoming wedding. Yeah, you heard that right. My wife was cheating on me with a married man, who was about to stand next to my future brother-in-law at the altar. The rage started to bubble again, but I kept it in check. I wasn't just going to burn her life down. I was going to unravel it, thread by thread, in public, with grace and precision. Nora and I spent hours constructing the plan. It had to be timed just right, with maximum impact. The wedding was less than a week away, and Camilla was fully immersed in helping my sister with last-minute dance routines and floral placements, all while sneaking off for private, practice sessions, with Reed. She had no idea I knew, no idea what was coming, and I wasn't about to tip her off. 2 days before the wedding, I made a quiet visit to Reed's wife. Her name was Monica. She opened the door with the weary look of someone stretched thin by life. 2 small kids peeked out from behind her legs. I introduced myself. She didn't recognize me right away, so I explained. "I'm Jason, Camilla's husband." Her face fell. She invited me in, silent and pale. We sat on her couch while the kids played in another room, and I told her everything. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just nodded slowly, gripping a cushion like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. "I had a feeling," she whispered. "He's been distant, cold. He stopped sleeping in the same bed." I pulled out the photos, the messages, the studio footage. She stared at them with this hollow look in her eyes. Then she said, "What do we do?" And I said, "We make sure they both regret it." On the morning of the wedding, everything looked picture perfect. Nora's venue was stunning, white drapes, golden arches, the sound of string quartets echoing through the air. Guests were buzzing, photographers were flitting around, the bridal party was getting ready. Camilla was there too, dressed in lavender, grinning like she had no idea her little world was about to crack in two. And I was calm, ice cold. Monica had arrived separately. Nora had given her a private place to sit and a moment to compose herself. We had one job left. At exactly 3:15 p.m., just before the ceremony began, the audio and video system was to play a short clip. It wasn't a wedding slideshow. It was something far less charming. 3:15 p.m. Guests were seated. The music softened. A hush fell over the crowd as the screen behind the altar flickered to life. At first, people assumed it was part of the ceremony, a surprise video for the bride and groom. But then, there was Camilla. Grainy footage, kissing Reed inside her studio. Another clip, her entering the place late at night with him, laughing, hands all over each other. Still photos followed, screenshots of messages, Her contact saved in his phone as studio stretch. Laughter in the room died instantly. Gasps, whispers, shock. My sister stood frozen at the altar, bouquet trembling in her hands. Reed, in his tuxedo, looked like a ghost. Camilla was halfway down the aisle, walking one of the flower girls. She dropped the basket. Eyes glued to the screen. Realization hit her in a wave of horror. I stood at the back of the room, arms crossed, watching it all unfold. Monica was nearby, calm, dignified. We had done this together. Reed stormed out. Camilla followed, humiliated, calling his name. My sister, Nora, threw the bouquet down and ran after them, livid and in tears. Guests began murmuring, some filming, some just awkwardly getting up and heading for the exit. It was glorious. Later that evening, Camilla came home. I was waiting for her. She looked wrecked, makeup smeared, hair tangled, eyes bloodshot. "What did you do?" she asked, voice shaking. I looked up from the dining table, where I had laid out divorce papers. "I gave everyone the truth," I said. "Something you never managed to do." She stared at the documents. "You can't do this, Jason, I made a mistake." "No, Camilla," I said. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. What you did? That's betrayal. Premeditated, repeated, and shameless." She tried to cry, beg for forgiveness. But I was done. I wasn't the fool anymore. The next few days were a blur. I took a couple of days off work, and Camilla tried to reach me every hour, every minute. She begged me to meet, to talk, to work things out. I didn't respond. I didn't need to hear her excuses. There was nothing to fix. There was nothing left between us. On the third day, I received a call. It was from Nora. "Jason, please, just talk to her. She's a wreck." I sighed, rubbing my eyes. I didn't want to get involved in her mess anymore, but I couldn't just ignore it. I told Nora to send Camilla over. If she wanted to talk, she could do it face to face. She came over that night. I could see the desperation in her eyes as she knocked on the door. I opened it slowly. She didn't even wait for an invitation. "Jason," she said, her voice breaking, "I made a terrible mistake, okay? But I love you. I need you." She tried to step forward, to touch me. I stepped back. "No, Camilla," I said firmly. "You've been playing games for too long. I never meant for it to go this far," she pleaded. You thought what? That I would be just another fool?" I shook my head, anger rising in me. "No, you knew exactly what you were doing. You were always in control. I was never the one you wanted. It was just easier to keep me around, to have the safety net while you used him for whatever it was." Her face crumpled. "I was scared," she cried, voice rising in panic. "I didn't want to lose you, but I didn't want to be alone either. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just looking for something, anything that could make me feel better about myself." I looked at her, feeling something shift inside me. I could almost pity her, but then I remembered everything. The lies, the manipulation, the hurt. "You used me, Camilla," I said, "and you used my trust." "I didn't mean to," she whispered. "But you did," I said coldly, "and now we're done." Camilla left later that night, and despite the lingering hurt, despite the finality of it all, I felt lighter. The weight of the past few months had finally started to lift. Months passed. Nora and I barely spoke anymore. It wasn't that I hated her, but her loyalty to Camilla had strained our relationship. She was constantly apologizing, always trying to smooth things over, but I didn't need an apology. I needed a clean break. I focused on moving forward, on rebuilding. I shifted my attention back to my work. I invested in new projects, new opportunities. I took time to travel, visit places I'd always dreamed of. In a strange way, I began to find peace in the chaos. The pain of the past few weeks faded, but the lessons remained. It wasn't about the betrayal. It was about me, about standing up for myself, taking my own life back into my hands, and not letting anyone control my narrative anymore. A year later, I was sitting at a new cafe downtown, flipping through the news. My phone buzzed with a text from Monica. "Guess who's engaged?" I blinked. It was a picture of Camilla, standing with Reed in some fancy restaurant, showing off a diamond ring. I smiled a little to myself. It wasn't about revenge anymore. I had gotten what I wanted, freedom, and the best part? They were now in it together. As I looked out the window, I noticed how the city was slowly starting to come alive again. The world wasn't going to stop spinning because of one betrayal, and neither was I.